So many of you know that that Malouf has a foundation called the Malouf Foundation, and it exists to confront child sex exploitation. And so that's what we exist for. We have a lot of different ways and approaches to working on that topic, and one of them is education through a program called OnWatch. So we're gonna roll a video here. The speakers aren't working perfectly, so we should hopefully be able to hear it well enough. But this intro is the OnWatch program, so we'll roll that now.
Sex trafficking is a significant problem facing our country.
Most Americans think trafficking always involves physical constraint or kidnapping. But the reality is 66% of child trafficking victims are trafficked by somebody that they know. Sex trafficking is the sale of an individual for sex. Globally, it's a $99 billion industry and currently the second largest criminal enterprise in the United States.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans are trafficked each year. And despite some of the most common perceptions, anyone can be a victim of trafficking. The signs of sex trafficking are all around us, but we can only see them if we understand what to look for. That's why we created the OnWatch training.
The Malouf Foundation and Safe House Project have come together to elevate your understanding of sex trafficking in America. OnWatch is a free digital training written by trafficking survivors throughout the country. They have chosen to share when their stories intersected members of the community who could have reported suspected trafficking had they understood the signs. Through those stories, as well as insights from industry experts, you will learn how to recognize sex trafficking and, more important, how to respond when you see something.
My name is Alia, and I am a trafficking survivor. To hear my story and learn more about how you can combat sex trafficking, visit iamonwatch.org.
Okay, so that's a little introduction on OnWatch. How many people here have taken the training? Just to see, maybe some people. So if you haven't had a chance to take it, it's a free online training. It takes about an hour. It's split up in about 10 different modules and segments, and so it's a video module training, and it's informed by real survivors, and these are their stories. So they're real stories, real people. And they're all different. So I think one of the best things about OnWatch is it dispels a lot of the common fallacies of trafficking and what it actually looks like and how we can actually have an impact on it. So anyway, we encourage everybody to take it. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. So today we're announcing the release of a new module. So we're always updating the modules. So we have, I can't remember if we're up to 13 or 14 now. But as we hear stories from survivors, we make new modules, and they're all different, and they have a different context and different color. And the more that we can get educated on those, we know what it looks like. And through education, I think we can really make a big impact. So today we're announcing the release of a new module, and today we have a special guest. Her name is Alia to introduce the module. The reason she's introducing it's her story. You just saw that on the video, and she actually contributed in a massive way to the writing of the script, as well as working with the filming and the execution of it. So I'm going to let Alia come up and tell a little bit more.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sam, for that introduction. As he said, my name is Alia. I'm actually the Director of Aftercare Development for Safe House Project. We have the incredible opportunity to walk side by side with the Malouf Foundation in developing OnWatch. But besides my position there at Safe House Project, I wear a lot of hats. I'm a mom, I'm a student, I'm a friend, I'm a girlfriend, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, but the hat that I wear that is most relevant to what we're doing today is that of a survivor leader and a survivor of sex trafficking. As you'll hear more about when we play my module in just a bit, I was trafficked from 14 to 18 in California and in the surrounding states, and because I was not identified and I didn't receive the services that I needed, I ended up being trafficked again at 26 when I was finally able to get the resources that I needed to have a new life. And there is a lot of discussion in the survivor community about how we want to be referred to. There's pretty much a general consensus that once we've left our trafficking situation, once we aren't actively being trafficked, we're not being victimized anymore, so the term victim isn't used. I personally really like the term survivor. I think it validates the fact that I did survive, which really was a miracle for me. That was something that I didn't ever expect to happen. So I love the term survivor leader. I have friends that like to use the term thriver to bring attention to the fact that they didn't just simply survive, that they're now living lives that are thriving. And the one that has been gaining the most traction in survivor communities recently is that of lived experience expert. So that is someone who is an expert in the field of anti-trafficking, who also has the lived experience of having been trafficked. And I do really like this terminology because I think it does validate that it is our stories, our experiences, our expertise that hold the answers to how we end trafficking in America. It is survivors who hold the answers to how do we help with the healing, with the restorations of survivors after they've been identified and after they've been rescued. It is survivor stories that hold the key to how do we know what those key indicators and signs are to identify current victims of trafficking. And that's what makes OnWatch so different from the other training modules that I've seen or gotten to be a part of, is that OnWatch really elevates the survivor voice. Not only does it elevate the survivor voice, it does give us the impact as experts, as those people who have the information on what those signs and indicators are. Like Sam said, when you watch the videos for the OnWatch modules, you're not watching aggregated data put together in a script by some creative director in an office somewhere, used to best represent what trafficking could look like. You're watching the real life stories written by the people who lived those experiences. Survivors who made the courageous decision to recount the most traumatic memories, their most heartbreaking experiences, so that they could ensure that you are equipped with the power and the information that you need to change the lives of victims in your community, because I promise you, we are in your community. As Sam said, I recently had the opportunity to write my story for OnWatch's newest module. My hope is that as we go into this new school year, this module will be used to help dispel some of those myths that circle around what trafficking is, and help to bring a light into the lives of young girls that are currently being trafficked through empowering the people who already love them with the information that they need to spot and report suspected trafficking. So with that, I am so excited to turn this over to my module and to invite you guys to be part of the first group that get to see OnWatch's newest module, My Story. Thank you.
For years, I thought that nobody knew. I mean, the truth was, I didn't even really know. I didn't know myself that I was being trafficked until I was in my 20s. So how could anyone else have known? I found out years later that people did know. And when I look back, I see all the signs were there.
I remember the first day of her freshman year. Dark hair, big brown eyes, sweet smile. She was timid. Another teacher said she knew her grandmother and that she was moved to our school because she was having a hard time. I never knew how bad it was until it was too late. That year, she came in with an older boyfriend. I was shocked to realize he was 27. It seemed to give her this confidence, but in a bad way. She didn't engage with others during lunch because she was on the phone with him. She almost seemed isolated. She always seemed to have new expensive gifts from him that she showed off to her friends, but they always seemed like a Band-Aid for something. Throughout that year, things got worse. She went from obsessed with him to completely detached from the rest of the world. She would get up and leave in the middle of class, saying she was going to the bathroom, and then be gone for days. Usually, her grandmother would report her running away to the police, and they would find her. When she came back to school, she hadn't slept in days. I would let her sleep in my classroom during lunch. I didn't know how else to help. The school nurse said that she was on heavy medication to curb the behaviors, but nothing seemed to be getting better. She would still leave, sometimes getting on the back of different motorcycles or leaving in different cars with men that pulled up to the school. When she returned, she would not have her school uniform, and I would find her piecing things together with clothes out of the lost and found. The end of freshman year, I heard her boyfriend got put in jail. The next year, she was a different person. She was engaged in class, making straight A's, laughing with friends, and full of life. I thought we had her back. But it all changed when I saw him pull up to school. He was back, and she was gone. Things went downhill quickly. Her behavior became more extreme than her freshman year, disappearing again for days on end, always returning looking worse than she left. I began to hear from other students that her boyfriend had her sleeping with other men for money. She came to class with a black eye, dismissing the cause as a fight with her boyfriend. I would see her withdrawal in class with visible anxiety as she picked her skin to the point it would bleed. Her sunken eyes looked sad. But then her phone would ding with a text. She would walk out, and I could see her going into character as she would walk out the door to yet another motorcycle parked outside the school. Looking back, I knew what was happening, but I had never heard about trafficking. Looking back, I wish I had believed the stories she would tell me that seemed so extreme that I dismissed them. I wish I had known to tell her that her boyfriend was grooming her, that this behavior were classic behaviors for trauma bonding. I wish I had done a lot. But by mid-junior year, she had run off again, lost to nearly a decade more of being sold.
My name is Alia, and this is my story. It's not enough to just know my story. We have to take a step beyond awareness to understand how to identify trafficked individuals and feel equipped to report suspected trafficking. So let's walk through what those in the school setting could have seen during my trafficking experience. They could have seen that I was in a controlling relationship where I was given expensive gifts but forced into isolation. The school could have reported to Child Protective Services when I went missing for days on end with an older man. When I returned from times that I was gone for days, they could have seen that I was dressed inappropriately or had to borrow clothes to meet school requirements, or that I was exhausted and falling asleep in class. Kids spread rumors, but teachers could have noticed the incessant murmuring that I was a prostitute. But it is important to note that there is no such thing as a child prostitute. If a child is being sold for commercial sex, they are a sex trafficking victim. When my phone would ding in class, my boyfriend had booked a buyer to pick me up from school with instructions for me to play into their schoolgirl fantasies. The teachers could have seen the signs of self-harm, anxiety, or abuse manifest on my body, or how I lied to minimize what was happening to me or what I had done to myself. Most of the times the school stepped in to address my behavior, it was to address the drug or alcohol use, but they never asked why I was using substances. They missed that it was to numb myself to all that was happening. The school nurse or teachers could have seen that the heavy medications I was prescribed to curb my behavior was not working, because my issue was not mental health related, it was trauma related. Teachers could have noticed that the swing in behaviors from rebellious and disconnected one year to engaged and thriving in school the next, and then back to rebellious the following year, could have pointed to external factors that were contributing to my actions. With all of the trauma I went through while I was trafficked in high school, I barely remember my time there. But I do remember the teacher who cared. She poured so much time into me, she spoke to me quietly and alone, She let me eat lunch in her classrooms, and she went the extra mile to show me she wanted me there. But she was not equipped to help me get out, or to see what was really happening to the child who was just going down a bad path. As a 14-year-old girl, I had never heard the term sex trafficking, and maybe the adults around me hadn't either. If they had known what to look for, they could have advocated for me. That is why it is important for teachers to be on watch and know the signs and indicators of child sex trafficking. When teachers know what to look for in the kids they already care so much about, they can change a child's life.
Well, that was powerful, and we really appreciate Alia's courage. So I'm Jake Neely, the Executive Director of Malouf Foundation, and I've been along the way in the process of creating OnWatch. The transition that we had with OnWatch as we looked at the power and impact that survivors could make in our education and in creating awareness was very evident. And today, we are very grateful to release this new module and share with you so you can see firsthand what that impact looks like. So we hope all of you will finish the training. The module is live right now. When you visit IamOnWatch.org, click Start the Training, you can see that. And we hope that today that all of you who have the unique experience to hear from Alia herself, to be in the same room, to breathe the same air, and then to watch the module will put you in a different place so that when you talk to people, when you share OnWatch with them and what you've learned, you can have a different experience and they can feel something different. In addition, I'm excited to also introduce Julie Whitehead, who is another survivor leader, who again is breathing the same air as us, who also has a module with OnWatch that was released earlier this year and has a powerful story. So we'd like to welcome Julie.
Hello, my name is Julie Whitehead. If you've been following the Malouf Foundation for a while now, you may have seen or heard me tell my story. But in short, I'm a wife, a mother, and a survivor of sex trafficking. I was trafficked for 5 months of my adult life when I was 30 years old in Utah and in the surrounding states. Although there were times when I was restrained and kept under lock and key, for the most part, I was still visible in my community. Many people think that trafficking victims are concealed the entire time, and that's just not the case. My trafficker took me to restaurants, to shopping centers, forced me to hotels, gas stations, grocery stores. On the times that I wasn't physically with my trafficker, I was told to keep up the appearance that everything was normal. So I could be found at the library, at my children's elementary school, volunteering with the PTA, and playing at the park with my kids. As a trafficking victim, I felt almost invisible because there I was in my own community, and it seemed like nobody saw what was happening to me. I did encounter a lot of people during my ordeal, and some of them were business owners and employees. One time, in an impulsive moment, I was able to break free from my trafficker, and I ran to a nearby auto parts shop. Once inside, I told the employee that I needed help, and he seemed genuinely concerned and willing to do something, but my trafficker caught up with me really quickly, and he was able to diffuse the situation by saying that it was all just a big misunderstanding. And traffickers are master manipulators. Another time I was being dragged into a truck stop to meet with men in the back room when the store clerk said, "Hey, don't bring that in here," referring to me as that. My trafficker simply looked at him, shrugged him off. The clerk didn't say or do anything else. So clearly, there was a lack of education and a lack of awareness. Now, as an advisory board member for the Malouf Foundation, I have been given a voice to help create some simple ways to spot trafficking and what the average person can do when they come across a situation that seems suspicious. The OnWatch Advocate Program is designed for businesses to not only empower their employees, but also to give back to them. Any business or organization can become certified OnWatch Advocate when 90% of their group completes the OnWatch training. And once this milestone has been reached, the group will receive a 1-year certification badge and marketing materials to share on their platform. In the end, it was a business owner who saved me and helped me escape trafficking. This came about because my trafficker forced me to meet with his employer. He wanted to negotiate some terms, and he said because I was a woman, I'd be more successful at that. On the day that I met with his employer, it didn't take long for this businessman to question my situation. He would later tell me that he just felt in his gut that something was wrong. He asked me some tough questions, and I was able to tell him just a little bit about what was going on, and he took immediate action. And because of that, I was able to get free from my trafficker, and he really saved my life. I'd encourage you all to become OnWatch advocates. Knowing the signs of trafficking can help you be in a position to support a trafficking victim and maybe even help them escape a life that is unimaginably horrible. You can get started today by visiting iamonwatch.org. And I'd just like to personally thank you for being here at Forging Freedom to show your support. And I hope we can continue working together to put an end to human trafficking. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here. Working with Alia and Julia has I'm sure for everybody, recognizing the courage and the pain it takes to kind of go through this, go back through it in their lives today to help us and to help others. So we feel super fortunate and grateful to be able to work with them, and again for their bravery to address the situation to help others that haven't been as fortunate, and to educate us to help really bring that to pass. So our company at Malouf, we've all taken the OnWatch training. We're OnWatch advocates, and as a business owner, being able to see the impact that has on a organization to build unity, to build empowerment, and to really help to actually make a difference is amazing. So we'd encourage all of you to do that with your organizations, to spread the word, to come back to this event. We do this at every market. And we appreciate you being here. So thanks for coming, and enjoy the rest of the market.